The dining room buzzed with laughter at Logan's 6th birthday party. Colorful balloons bounced against the ceiling, while kids ran around screaming with joy. Everyone was having fun, except me, Evelyn, stuck in the kitchen alone. For 3 hours, I had been cooking, cleaning, and setting up decorations without a single thank you. My back hurt from bending over the hot stove, but no one seemed to notice or care. "Can someone please help me with these plates?" I called out. No answer came back, just the sound of the football game blaring from the living room where my husband Harlan sat with his feet up. I wiped sweat from my forehead and picked up the heavy tray of mini hot dogs. Just as I turned toward the door, Logan burst into the kitchen, his face red with anger. "Where's my cake? You were supposed to bring it out already," he screamed, stomping his foot. "I'm getting to it, sweetie. Just need to serve these first." Before I could finish, Logan grabbed his cup of cola and threw it directly at me. The cold liquid splashed across my blouse, dripping down onto my shoes and the clean floor. "Harlan?" I called out, shocked. "Did you see what he just did?" From the couch, Harlan didn't even look up. "Don't make a scene, Evelyn. He's just a kid." I stood frozen, staring down at my soaked blouse, feeling something inside me finally snap. With shaking hands, I changed my blouse and returned to the kitchen to finish the meal. I picked up the platter of Logan's favorite chicken fingers and headed to the dining room. As I pushed through the swinging door, I froze. There, sitting beside Harlan in what had always been my chair, was Ivy Langdon. Her silver hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, her designer outfit spotless, everything I wasn't after spending the day cooking and cleaning. Ivy looked up, her red lips curving into a smile. "Hi, Evelyn." My mouth went dry. Ivy Langdon wasn't just any woman. She was Harlan's high school sweetheart before he'd met me. The one who got away, as he'd mentioned too many times over our 40-year marriage. The platter trembled in my grip as my mind raced. Just 3 weeks ago, I'd seen a post about her husband's funeral. I'd even sent flowers and a sympathy card. My eyes met Harlan's, but he quickly looked away, suddenly very interested in his phone. "Grandma, hurry up with the food." Logan whined from across the table. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. How was Ivy already here, sitting in my seat, barely a month after becoming a widow? I set down the platter, my hands still shaking. No one thanked me or even looked my way. Instead, all eyes were on Ivy as she laughed at something Harlan whispered in her ear. "I made Logan's favorite chicken fingers," I said, trying to join the conversation. Ivy smiled sweetly. "I already ordered pizza. Kids prefer it at parties, don't they?" My heart sank as I spotted the stack of pizza boxes on the side table. Hours of cooking, wasted. "Grandma got mad at me and wouldn't give me any snacks," Logan suddenly announced, pointing his finger at me. "She ate all the food in the kitchen and didn't give me any." Everyone burst out laughing like it was the funniest joke they'd ever heard. Even my daughter Vivienne wiped tears from her eyes. "That's not true," I said quietly. "Logan, you know that's not what happened." Harlan's face darkened. "Stop being so sensitive, Evelyn. Why do you always have to be so bitter and petty? He's just playing around." I hadn't eaten a single bite all day. My stomach growled as I watched Ivy reach for Logan, lifting him onto her lap with ease. "Don't worry, sweetheart," she cooed, stroking his hair. "Grandma's got you now." I stood there, invisible, as my grandson snuggled against another woman who'd just claimed my title. "Mom, seriously, don't ruin the vibe," Vivienne said, rolling her eyes. My own daughter, the little girl I'd nursed through countless fevers and heartbreaks, now looked at me like I was nothing but an inconvenience. "Yeah, let's just enjoy the party," Harlan added, putting his arm around Ivy's shoulders. "Evelyn, why don't you bring out some more napkins? That's something you can handle." The room fell silent for a second before nervous laughter broke out. "She's not good at much," Harlan continued, grinning at our guests, "but she can cook. Usually." More laughter. Ivy patted his hand lovingly, like they shared some private joke about me. Standing there, watching them all, something finally clicked. The missed family dinners I wasn't told about, the vacation plans made without consulting me. The way Logan ran to Vivienne or Harlan with his achievements but never to me. They'd been writing me out of this family for months, maybe years. I wasn't a wife, mother, or grandmother to them anymore. I was the help. I turned away. walking back to the kitchen on legs that felt like they might give out any second. My hand brushed against the pocket of my apron, feeling the small piece of paper inside. The lottery ticket I'd checked this morning. The one worth $5,000 that I'd planned to surprise them with today. Back in the kitchen, I leaned against the counter, the winning ticket burning a hole in my pocket. For weeks, I dreamed about what this money could do for our family. College funds for Logan, the European cruise Harlan always talked about. Maybe even a bigger house where Vivienne could stay when things got tough with her husband. I'd planned to announce it after the cake, imagining their surprised faces, the hugs, the tearful thank yous. What a fool I'd been. The kitchen door swung open and Logan burst in again. This time, he clutched a mug of hot cocoa, steam rising from the top. "Careful with that, sweetie," I warned. "That's very hot and—" "I don't have to listen to you," he screamed, his face twisting in anger. "You're not the boss of me." Before I could react, Logan hurled the mug straight at me. It hit my chest, the scalding liquid soaking through my blouse. White-hot pain spread across my skin as I cried out, staggering backward. The ceramic mug shattered on the floor as I collapsed, clutching my burning chest. Harlan rushed in, not to help me, but to pick up Logan. "What the hell, Evelyn? You scared him!" Vivienne appeared in the doorway, her face twisted with annoyance rather than concern. "Do you really have to ruin everything?" she snapped as I lay trembling on the cold kitchen floor. Pain radiated across my chest as I lay there, unable to move. The tile floor felt cool against my cheek, a strange contrast to the burning sensation spreading across my skin. No one helped me up. No one offered to check the burn or get me ice. They all stood around, looking down at me like I was the problem. "She's being dramatic," Vivienne said, turning to the others. "She always does this for attention." Ivy stepped forward, pulling Logan closer to her side. "He's just a child," she cooed. "He doesn't understand." I waited for Harlan to defend me, to show even the smallest sign that 40 years of marriage meant something. Instead, he sighed heavily, like I was the greatest burden he'd ever carried. "Can you just get up and clean this mess? The guests are waiting for cake." Slowly, I pushed myself up, wincing as my blouse stuck to my burned skin. No one offered a hand. No one asked if I was okay. The room spun slightly as I steadied myself against the counter. In that moment, looking at their impatient faces, something inside me hardened. This wasn't love. This wasn't family. I took a deep breath and looked directly at Harlan. "I want a divorce," I whispered. The room went completely still. Harlan's mouth opened, then closed before breaking into a condescending laugh. "A divorce? At your age?" He snorted, looking at the others as if to say, "Can you believe this? Where would you even go? What would you do?" "Don't be ridiculous, Evelyn. You'll come crawling back within a week." Vivienne stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "Can you not do this now? It's Logan's birthday. For God's sake. Why do you always have to make everything about you?" I looked at my daughter, truly looked at her, and wondered when she'd become this person who cared so little for her own mother. Without another word, I untied my apron and laid it on the counter. I walked past them, through the dining room where guests whispered and stared, and toward the front door. "Where are you going?" Harlan called after me. "The cake. Ivy can serve it," I said without turning around. As my hand touched the doorknob, I heard Logan's voice ring out. Bad Grandma is leaving." I turned back one last time. There stood my family. Harlan with his arm around Ivy, Vivienne looking annoyed, and Logan, my only grandchild, nestled safely in Ivy's arms like he belonged there. Like I had never existed at all. The emergency room was surprisingly quiet for a Saturday evening. A nurse gently guided me to a curtained area where a doctor with kind eyes examined my chest. "This is a second-degree burn," she said, carefully applying ointment to my blistering skin. "How did this happen?" I told her everything. The party, Logan throwing the hot cocoa, everyone's reaction. As I spoke, her expression shifted from professional concern to personal sympathy. "You need rest," she said, wrapping a bandage around my chest. "And maybe a lawyer." She handed me discharge papers and a prescription for pain medication. As I sat in the waiting area for the pharmacy to fill my prescription, I pulled out my phone. No missed calls, no texts asking if I was okay. Out of habit, I checked my bank app. The notification I'd seen that morning was still there, deposit of $5,000 complete. The lottery funds had cleared. My funds. Not Harlan's. Not the family's. Mine alone. For the first time since leaving the house, I smiled. I checked into a hotel near the hospital, a nice one with room service and a view of the city. The bed was soft, the sheets clean, and for the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about anyone else's needs but my own. With my burns bandaged and pain medication taking effect, I picked up my phone and did something I rarely did. I opened Facebook. Harlan's profile appeared immediately. He'd updated his status just 30 minutes ago. There on my screen was a photo taken in my kitchen, the kitchen I'd scrubbed clean that morning. Ivy was wiping Logan's face with a napkin, both of them laughing. The caption read, "Some loves are worth waiting 40 years for." 40 years. The exact length of our marriage. My finger trembled as I scrolled down to the comments. Friends I thought were mine were leaving heart emojis and congratulations. And there, among them, was Vivienne's comment. "Bonus mom, Logan loves her already." I set the phone down and walked to the bathroom where I stared at my reflection. My eyes were red from crying, my hair a mess, my skin pale. The white bandage peeked out from under my borrowed hospital gown. This woman in the mirror, ignored, replaced, erased, I barely recognized her. But she was about to make herself known. I'd never been one for social media. Harlan always said I wasn't photogenic enough, and Vivienne complained that I didn't understand how it worked. But that night, sitting alone in my hotel room, I opened my barely used Facebook account and hit live. No makeup, no filter, just me, showing the edge of my bandage, speaking quietly into the camera. "My name is Evelyn Miller. Today was my grandson's 6th birthday party. I cooked for 3 days to make it special. I cleaned the house, I hung decorations, I did everything I could to show my love." I paused, swallowing hard. Today, my grandson threw hot cocoa at me because I asked him to be careful. It burned my skin. My husband of 40 years blamed me for scaring the boy. My daughter told me I was ruining the party. No one helped me up from the floor. I showed the medical bracelet still on my wrist. I was the one who cooked, cleaned, raised that boy when my daughter needed help. And today, I became invisible. As I ended the video, a message popped up from a stranger. "Make it go viral. Add his name. They need to hear you." I stared at the message for a long time before switching off the light and letting exhaustion pull me into sleep. The next morning, I woke to dozens of notifications. My simple video had been shared over 500 times overnight. Comments poured in from women my age sharing similar stories, younger people expressing outrage, and even a few local news outlets asking for interviews. With a new sense of purpose, I recorded a second video. This time, I spoke clearly and confidently, using full names, dates, and specific incidents. I showed the burn more clearly. I described the way Logan had been encouraged to disrespect me, the way Harlan had invited his old flame into our home while I cooked in the kitchen. I ended with a gentle but firm statement. I may have left that house, but I refuse to be erased. Within hours, the view count hit 100,000. Emboldened, I posted my hospital discharge papers, with the burn diagnosis clearly visible. Then a third video, shorter than the others. "If I'm a bad grandma, at least I healed alone. Not a single person from my family has called to check on me." Comments flooded in. "Stay strong, Evelyn. This is elder abuse. They don't deserve you." For the first time in years, I felt seen. By the third day, my story had taken on a life of its own. Young people on TikTok stitched my videos with their own commentary. "She raised them for 40 years and got replaced like furniture. This is how we treat our elders. Imagine throwing your mom away because your dad's high school girlfriend showed up. That poor woman cooked and cleaned while they planned to replace her." News outlets picked up the story. Online forums debated the details. My inbox filled with messages of support and offers of help from strangers around the country. Then my phone rang with a familiar number. "Harlan, take that video down," he growled, his voice trembling with rage. "You're humiliating us. People are calling the house, Evelyn. They're saying horrible things." "People are saying the truth," I replied calmly. "I swear to God, if you don't take those videos down right now..." "You'll what, Harlan? Ignore me? Replace me? Treat me like a servant? You already did all that." He hung up, and I blocked his number. For the first time in 40 years, I had the last word. 3 more calls came that day. From Vivienne, from Harlan's sister, from our family friend who begged me to think about how this looks. I let them all go to voicemail. Then came the text messages. Mom, please stop this madness. You're tearing apart our family. Think about Logan. I finally responded to Vivienne. I did think about Logan. For 6 years, I thought about nothing but taking care of your son while you built your career. And yesterday, you watched him hurt me and did nothing. That night, a private message appeared from an account I didn't recognize. Ivy. Please, Evelyn. This is hurting me. I never meant to cause problems. Harlan said you two were practically separated already. My hands shook as I typed my reply. Then stop pretending you're me. Stop sitting in my chair, using my kitchen, calling yourself my grandson's grandma. You want my life? Earn it. I put in 40 years. I hit send and blocked her too. This wasn't about revenge. This was about refusing to be erased. The following Monday, I met with a lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Rita who specialized in divorce cases for women over 60. 40 years, no prenup, and a recent lottery win? She smiled as she looked over my documents. Interesting timing. The lottery was my ticket, I explained. I bought it with money from my personal savings account. Smart, she nodded, making notes. And you've kept careful records of that account? I had. For years, I'd put aside small amounts from my part-time bookkeeping job, money Harlan often forgot I earned, because it wasn't real work in his eyes. We filed the papers that day. Cooling period, 30 days. Rita warned me that Harlan would fight for half of the lottery money, maybe more. But I was prepared. Before leaving home, I'd transferred the entire amount into a new account under my name alone. He'll try to claim it's marital property, Rita explained. Let him try, I replied. That afternoon, I received a formal letter from Harlan's attorney demanding immediate access to all financial records regarding recent windfall gains. Too late. A week after filing for divorce, I discovered something surprising. Harlan and Ivy had started a YouTube channel called Silver Love Reignited. Their first video, posted just days after I left, showed them cooking together in my kitchen, talking about how they'd reconnected when the time was finally right. The comments section had initially been filled with supportive messages, until someone recognized Ivy from my videos and linked the 2 stories. Overnight, their channel was flooded with angry comments. Isn't this the woman who replaced Evelyn? Where is the real grandma? Did you really let a child assault your wife and then blame her? Their sponsors, a meal kit service and a vitamin company targeting seniors, quickly dropped them. Their follow-up video attempting to explain the situation only made things worse. Then, someone leaked a clip that changed everything. It showed Harlan and Ivy arguing when they thought the camera was off. You're not her? Harlan shouted, his face red with anger. You don't cook like her. You don't clean like her. The house is a mess, Ivy. Ivy's tearful reply was equally revealing. You said she was just a housekeeper to you. You said she meant nothing. The internet had their confirmation, and hashed justice for Evelyn began trending locally. While my old life publicly unraveled, I quietly built a new one. First came the house, a charming 2-bedroom cottage in Asheville with a garden and a view of the mountains. No more suburban neighborhood where neighbors knew me only as Harlan's wife. Next was the makeover. I visited a salon where a kind stylist named Marco listened to my story and transformed my plain graying hair into a stylish silver bob. This is the real you, he said, spinning my chair to face the mirror. Elegant, strong, beautiful. I hardly recognized the woman staring back at me. She looked confident, peaceful. That afternoon, I visited an animal shelter and met Benny, a one-eyed orange cat who'd been overlooked by adopters for months. We recognized something in each other immediately. He's not perfect, the shelter worker warned. Neither am I replied, signing the adoption papers. That evening, sitting on my new porch with Benny purring in my lap, I received an email from a popular podcast about women's empowerment. They wanted me to be their guest. Topic: Rebuilding at 67. For the first time in decades, I felt excited about the future. The peace of my new life was interrupted by Vivienne's phone call a week later. Mom, she said, her voice softer than I'd heard it in years. Come back. Logan misses you. I stroked Benny's fur, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. Let Ivy read him bedtime stories. That's not fair, Vivienne protested. She's not staying anymore. Things are complicated now. Life is complicated, I agreed. You're throwing away your family, she said, her voice cracking. All these years together, and you're just walking away because of one bad day? I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of those words. Family threw me away first, Vivienne. It wasn't one bad day. It was years of small cuts that finally made me bleed. The line went quiet for a moment. You're 67 years old, Mom, she finally said. Stop playing games and come home where you belong. I am home, I replied, and ended the call. The next morning, I woke to find that Vivienne had gone live on her Instagram account overnight. With red eyes and a trembling voice, she told her followers that I was unstable and going through something. My poor mother has abandoned her family, she sobbed to the camera. She's confused, possibly having some kind of breakdown. Then came the accusation that made my blood run cold. She pushed Logan during his birthday party. We've been trying to protect her by not reporting it, but I'm worried about her mental state. I sat at my kitchen table, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my coffee cup. How dare she? How dare she twist the truth like this? With calm determination, I dug through my phone until I found what I needed. The security camera footage from Logan's party. Harlan had installed cameras in every room for protection, but what he really meant was for control. Now that control would backfire. I posted the clear footage of Logan throwing the hot cocoa, of me falling to the floor in pain, of everyone standing around doing nothing. My caption was simple: truth, no edits. The security footage changed everything. What had been a growing wave of support for me became a tsunami. News outlets picked up the story, running headlines like "Grandmother's Abuse Captured on Camera" and "Family Denies Elderly Woman Medical Care After Child's Attack." Social media users who had been on the fence were now firmly in my corner. The hashtag #RealGrandma started trending, with thousands sharing stories of elder abuse and family betrayal. Harlan, Ivy, and Vivienne all set their accounts to private, but it was too late. Screenshots of their previous posts circulated widely, especially ones showing Ivy in my kitchen wearing my apron, calling herself Grandma. Legal experts weighed in, suggesting I had grounds for not just divorce, but possibly a civil suit for the burn injury and subsequent failure to provide medical attention. Late that evening, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. It was a producer from Today's Voice, one of the biggest morning shows in the country. "Mrs. Miller," she said warmly, "we'd like to invite you to share your story with our viewers. Millions of older Americans face similar situations. Your courage could help them find their voice." I thought of all the women like me, silent and invisible in their own homes, and said, yes. The night before my television appearance, Harlan and Ivy made one last desperate attempt to salvage their reputation. They went live on their channel, sitting close together on what used to be my sofa. "We want to set the record straight," Harlan said gravely. "Evelyn and I had a marriage of convenience for many years. We stayed together for our daughter, but there was no real love left." Ivy nodded beside him. "Harlan and I reconnected at a class reunion last year. We tried to do things the right way. Then came the final blow. She was never really a wife to me," Harlan continued. "More like a live-in helper. I provided everything while she contributed very little." I watched the live stream with strange detachment, as if they were talking about a stranger instead of my life. When it ended, I opened my old email account and found what I needed: a voice recording from 1985, our 5th anniversary. I'd saved it all these years, transferred from cassette to digital. I posted it without comment. Harlan's young voice filled with emotion. "Evelyn, you're the love of my life, the mother of my child, my best friend. Grow old with me. I promise to love you until my last breath." The recording ended with the sound of our laughter and a kiss. No other comment was needed. My appearance on Today's Voice changed everything. Sitting across from the sympathetic host, I shared my story calmly and without self-pity. I spoke about the isolation many older women feel, the way society often treats them as disposable once their usefulness ends. "I'm not angry anymore," I said truthfully. "I'm grateful. This experience showed me I still have value, even if it's not as someone's wife or grandmother." By that afternoon, my social media following had exploded. Women from across the country sent messages thanking me for giving them courage. A publisher reached out about a potential book deal. A women's organization asked me to be their spokesperson. With Rita's help, I launched a simple website called The Invisible Woman, offering resources for older women facing similar situations. Within days, it had thousands of visitors. I hired a small team to help manage the sudden attention, including Marco, my stylist, who became my personal assistant and dear friend. "You're not just rebuilding," he told me one afternoon as we sorted through interview requests. "You're creating an empire." Meanwhile, Harlan was served papers detailing his spousal misconduct, including evidence of financial control and emotional abuse. The tables had completely turned. The day of our divorce hearing dawned bright and clear. I wore a simple blue dress that Marco had helped me choose, dignified but confident, like the woman I'd become. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters and curious onlookers who had followed my story. I walked past them with my head held high, Rita at my side. Inside, Harlan was already seated with his attorney. He looked older somehow, his shoulders hunched, his face haggard. Ivy sat behind him, dressed demurely in beige, trying to look inconspicuous. The proceedings were brief and surprisingly anticlimactic. The judge, a woman about my age, had clearly reviewed our case thoroughly. She denied Harlan's claim to my lottery winnings, citing clear evidence of separate property and noting my consistent maintenance of independent finances. When it came time to sign the final papers, my hand didn't tremble. 40 years ended with a simple stroke of a pen. As we all rose to leave, Harlan and Ivy pushed past me toward the door, their expressions smug despite the ruling. I couldn't let them have the last word. "Ivy," I called softly. She turned, her eyebrow raised. "Good luck with my old job. The hours are long, the pay is non-existent, and the boss is impossible to please." Her smile faltered as the truth of her future sank in. 1 month after the divorce was finalized, I sat in my garden with Benny, planning my next steps. My website had become a community for thousands of women. My social media accounts were platforms for change rather than just personal stories. It was time to give back in a bigger way. That afternoon, I made the announcement. I was creating a $100,000 grant fund called New Chapters to support women over 60 who needed help starting over, whether leaving abusive relationships, pursuing delayed dreams, or rebuilding after loss. The response was overwhelming. Applications poured in, along with donations from people who wanted to support the cause. What began as a personal act of generosity quickly grew into a proper foundation. Meanwhile, Harlan's name was trending again, but not for reasons he would want. Photos surfaced of Ivy moving out of the house, carrying suitcases to a waiting taxi. According to friends who still kept me updated, Ivy had left him after a massive fight, taking a significant amount of cash and jewelry with her. The silver love-reignited dream had crashed and burned. That evening, a text came from an unknown number. "If you come back now, I'll forgive you." I laughed out loud, showing the message to Benny before blocking yet another of Harlan's new numbers. As autumn turned the Asheville mountains to gold and crimson, my new life took another exciting turn. A small publishing house offered me a book deal for a memoir tentatively titled The Invisible Woman, Finding Your Voice After 60. The advance allowed me to expand the New Chapters Foundation and hire more staff, including 3 women who had received our first round of grants. A national bookstore chain invited me to do a 10-city tour, speaking about resilience and reinvention. I found myself packing a suitcase with clothes I actually loved, excited rather than anxious about the journey ahead. The night before my departure, I posted a photo on my social media. In it, I sat on my porch swing, Benny curled contentedly in my lap, mountains glowing in the background. My silver hair caught the sunset light, and my smile was genuine. The caption read, "Finally living where I'm seen." It became my most liked post ever, shared thousands of times with comments like, "Goals," and "Never too late to start over." Just as I was about to turn in for the night, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "Grandma," came Logan's small voice. "Can I come visit?" Sitting at my writing desk, sunshine streaming through the window, I carefully penned a letter to Logan. Not an email or a text, but a real letter on pretty stationery I'd bought especially for this purpose. "Dear Logan," I wrote, "thank you for your message. It made me happy to hear your voice. I explained, in simple terms a 6-year-old could understand, what strength looks like, what kindness means. I told him I didn't blame him for what happened. He was just a child who needed better guidance. Sometimes grown-ups forget to teach children important things, I wrote, like how to respect others and how to say sorry when you hurt someone. I told him about Benny, about my garden, about the mountain view. I included a photo of us together from when he was 3, both of us laughing as we built sandcastles at the beach. You can visit any time, I wrote. But I need a little more time away from your mom right now. When adults hurt each other, healing takes time. I signed it, "With love, your real grandma," and sealed the envelope. As I walked to the mailbox, I felt surprisingly at peace. The anger that had once fueled me had transformed into something stronger, calmer, more powerful. I didn't leave to ruin them. I left to remember myself. And if that ruined them, they were already broken.